I had this mentor, John. One of the things he did to me that was really strange, he says to me, Dan, you're going to be on my sales team. You need to be making 100 grand a year or I'm going to fire you. So I had this kind of like weird look on my face. He goes, you're not going to make 100 grand a year. You're not going to succeed. You think 50 grand is out of your reach. So 100 grand's like, you haven't even considered that. You've got a problem with money.
Daniel Priestley is an entrepreneur, best-selling author, and international speaker.
Became a multi-millionaire by the age of 23.
You are about to watch an entrepreneurship masterclass in the highest form.
Daniel Priestley. One thing he got me to do is I had to carry $2,000 in my pocket at all time. He said, you need to believe that 2 grand is just pocket money. What he asked me to do was to write down in my journal, what are all the emotions that come up around the money? I listed out all the things that came up as my fears. And then he translated that to, these are your core beliefs around money that have to change. Psychology and money are so intertwined, they're so linked. When you receive an amount of money that you feel is too much, you have guilt and shame come up.
What are the 3 things you want your kids to know that has nothing to do with money?
Definitely.
What are the 3 things you want your kids to know that has nothing to do with money?
Definitely health. Right, the physical body. I overlooked the value of health for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, I envy the fact that you got so into sport, and like I was just into business that whole time. And you know, when you're young, you just kind of think, oh yeah, I'll be fit forever and all that sort of stuff. So like understanding the human body, understanding health, understanding a bit of psychology. So I definitely think health. The value of relationships and how to build relationships, how to invest in relationships, how to preserve them, protect them, how to mend them when they break. So like all of those relationship skills. You know what I want to do? I just want them to watch the 1700 episodes of School of Greatness. That would. I mean, actually, if you thought about it, if you just got rid of schooling and replaced it with the School of Greatness, that wouldn't actually be a bad.
That's why I started it, because I grew up very dyslexic. I was always in the bottom of my class. I always felt insecure, dumb, not enough. And going to school was like the hardest thing to do. Every day was just like, I don't want to be here, because no matter how much I study or how hard I try, I'm failing at homework, quizzes, tests, finals. It was just like, every day felt like failure, but it wasn't an enjoyable failure where I'm learning and developing.
Yeah, it's a fish trying to walk down the street.
Exactly. When I go into sports after class, it was like, okay, I'm failing every day, but I'm seeing the improvement. Like I'm learning and I'm getting better and I can see the growth. I wasn't getting better in school.
Yeah.
So it was just like, how do I get out of here? How do I wait till the clock hits 2:30 or whatever in the afternoon so I can be done? Because it's just making me feel less than. It's a confirmation that no matter how hard I try, everyone in this classroom is smarter than me, better than me, more talented than me, more resourceful than me. And it's just like, this is sucking the life out of me.
Sadly, millions of kids are experiencing that right now because the contrast is becoming so much wider. The contrast of what's out there and what's available versus what they experience at school. I mean, my kids aren't homeschooled, they're in normal schools, and they come home and they go like, this, they struggle with it. And I struggle with it as a parent.
Why have kids in school and not homeschool them?
It's a real trick, isn't it? Because,
especially if you have the financial means and you have resources.
There's something about the experience that they're not hating it to the degree that I pull them out, but there's something about the experience of being around a big group of their peers, and that shared school environment.
But can't you get that from somewhere else? From classes and sports teams and music classes and tutoring and developing public speaking or whatever it is. Like,
the truth is I'm wrestling with that. I'm toying with that idea.
I'm not saying it's a right or good or bad.
I went through a pretty rough schooling system. Like I did not go to great schools, and 40 children per teacher. There was no teaching assistant or any of that sort of stuff. And we kind of, ran feral across our teachers and all that sort of stuff. And yet there was so much I'm
not blaming teachers because they're limited with what they can do. And I wouldn't be able to manage 40 kids.
No, they're within a system that doesn't, a lot of teachers really resonate with these messages. Yeah, like me personally, I did get a lot of value from just like the friendships I made. This like the sports does have like a lot of sports do happen around the school.
But you can still join sports teams
yeah.
even if you're not in that school.
Fortunately, my kids, their school is not it's not horrific. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like it's not the ideal system that I would design from scratch today, but I'm lucky enough that our kids go to pretty good schools based on the traditional system, and also we do invest a lot. Like our kids go to coding camp, they go to jiu-jitsu, like all of those kind of things. They're getting all of that. And when my kids come home and they say, "Oh, I didn't do so well on this test," I go, "That's totally fine. It's just a test. Like it doesn't mean anything." And they go, "Oh, okay." I say it's just one way of just like checking in to see whether you got it or not. It's not going to dictate anything about your future. You know, so we have a good dialogue going.
Yeah.
But I am still wrestling with it. If my wife watches this podcast, maybe it'll spark the conversation.
Well, I mean, isn't AI going to teach kids better than teachers can?
AI, our kids are taught by AI, so they have access to an AI tutor, and it's phenomenal, and it's wild, and it goes at the same speed that they want to go at, and it speeds up when they want to speed up, and it slows down when they want to slow down, and it can switch analogies or it can switch examples. It's pretty wild, and it talks to them.
I mean, the reason why I started the School of Greatness was because I feel like there were so many things that I didn't learn in school growing up that I learned later in life that were the real skills, the real tools, the real lessons I need to learn. And I'm still learning and developing. And you said two of them, learning about health and learning about navigating relationships.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe they teach some health in school or there's 15 minutes of recess.
Yeah.
And sure, you're intertwining with other human beings, adults, figures, authority figures, and peers. But it's not teaching you how to
Manage relationships.
manage relationships or deal with heartbreak or deal with bullying or deal with your feelings, your emotions, or how to give a speech in front of your peers. Like it doesn't teach these skills that I had to start learning in my mid to late 20s because I didn't learn any of them in school. Now, it doesn't mean I didn't learn some things in school and the interactions throughout the day and
I wonder whether
socializing. Sure, but you can't you get that
Yeah.
in other areas of life?
I wonder if anyone who's homeschooling their kids gets their kids watching School of Greatness.
I'm sure there are.
I'd be curious
there
to know
are.
if anyone has watched every single episode too.
There are people that tell me they have.
That would
People have told me they have, and it's a lot of content.
we should have a mastermind just for those people.
I would do it.
The people who have
I would do it.
who have sat through that.
I mean, the challenge is how do you know if everyone has? But people will post like every episode on social media, and people that have found the podcast will go back to episode 1 and get all the way up to where we're now. And it's every week for 12 years. 3 episodes a week for the last 10 years.
That's wild.
So it's putting out information from some of the
What's that done to your head? What's it like to
transform my life?
Because if you were an AI,
I literally feel. Have you seen Don Quixote?
yeah,
Have you seen the movie Don Quixote?
ages ago.
It's like this, guy who gets sent to a prison for not doing a crime. Like he didn't commit a crime. He's sent to prison, and he's pretty much, he can't read, he can't write, he doesn't understand the world, he doesn't know math, but he's like a really good, kind soul, naive.
Yeah.
And he's in prison for a crime he doesn't commit because he was naive, because he didn't have the skills or the resourceful enough to kind of stand up for himself, or people were taking advantage of him. And he just kind of gets sent in this prison for life. And one day, 7 years in, when he's about to take his own life, he hears a voice. And it's like another prisoner who's there for life trying to dig a tunnel to escape. And it's this old wise mentor who essentially says, you help me dig a tunnel to our freedom and I'll teach you about life. I get chills thinking about it. It's a beautiful movie. But it's a book originally, but the movie is powerful. And he studies with the mentor for like a decade while he's in the dirt, trapped in prison, setting himself physically free. He becomes spiritually, mentally, and emotionally free, and physically free.
Yeah.
He learns like swordsmanship. He learns mathematics. He speaks 7 languages. Like
this is you. You feel like you're tunneling out.
I feel like, I'm not as gifted as he became, but I feel like it has given me a wealth of information that is unlimited, that has created such a sense of inner freedom
Yeah.
and inner power of resourcefulness that I wouldn't have had without going through this journey. Imagine sitting across someone like yourself 20 years ago, 10 years ago, when you didn't know what you were doing, you know, and sitting across Kobe Bryant and billionaires and therapists and health experts
I'm
and learning
curious-
from all of them.
I'm curious for you, if you're at a dinner party and you're talking to people, you must have to bite your tongue a little bit, because you've sat down with some of the world's top experts on every topic. It must be a very strange feeling to have a little bit about so much.
I mean, it's a superpower,
It is a superpower.
but it's also, you know, I'm still the student. The reason I'm doing it 12 years in is because I have so much more to learn. I don't feel like I've mastered something. I've maybe been able to get beyond certain limitations.
You've become a high agency generalist.
Exactly. And now it's like I need to keep evolving
Yeah.
and keep learning new skills.
Of the 1700, if you, like, because thinking about my kids, if there were 3 brackets that you said, teach the kids about these 3 topics, is
Health, relationships, and really money mindset.
health, relationships, and the ability to manage money.
It's like money mindset. And it's more because money is such a, I would say more it's health, relationships, and mindset, which is evolved around purpose,
Yep.
you know, having a fulfilling life,
Yep.
overcoming adversities, dealing with challenges. But money is such an important thing in the world because of how people live,
Yeah.
that my money interviews and episodes do
Yeah.
so well.
It's also a good way to test mindset, because it's in the presence of money that our mindsets get revealed.
Yes.
When I had this mentor, John, one of the things he did to me that was really strange was he asked me the question, how much do you think is a lot of money?
What'd you say?
I said $1,000 a week. So he said, how much is a lot of money to earn? You got to remember, this was 2000. And I said $1,000 a week. I said, I remember the exact words. I said, there's not much you can't do on $1,000 a week. Right? So that was my thing. And he says to me, Dan, you're going to be on my sales team. You need to be making $100,000 a year, or I'm going to fire you.
So
you
it's what is that? $2,000 a week, right? It's like,
yeah. So I had this kind of like weird look on my face, and he said, you've got a problem with money. He goes, you're not going to make $100,000 a year. You're not going to succeed because you think $100,000 is so far out of your reach. You know, you think $50,000 is out of your reach. So $100,000 is like, you haven't even considered that.
So your mindset needs to shift around.
Yeah, he's like, why don't you think you can do it? I'm like, well, I'm only 19. He's like, we got to shift that. So one thing he got me to do is I had to carry $2,000 in my pocket at all time.
That's cool.
He said, you need to believe that $2,000 is just pocket money. So
That's a good like social experiment.
yeah, so I had to carry this wad of cash in my pocket. Now all my emotions came up. So carrying this $2,000,
If I lose it, or
what if I lose it?
if someone steals it
What
from me?
if someone steals it? What he asked me to do was to write down in my journal, what are all the emotions that come up around the money, carrying the money. So by carrying the money, the emotions come up. So I had stuff like, what if someone sees it and judges me? That's my money shit. He said,
That's the Australian in you.
yeah. He
being
said,
judged,
yeah, being judged for it. Yeah, in America, it's like cool. In
Yeah.
Australia, it's like, what are you doing?
Come back down to earth.
Why
Yeah,
have you got that? I had, what if someone steals it? So he said to me, you have a belief that if you had money, someone would attack you for it. You would cause physical danger to you. I said, what if a girl sees it and then she thinks that I'm just like, she wants to date me and like has all these expectations.
Because of money.
Right? So then he's like, you feel that money would get in the way of having an authentic relationship. Right? So I listed out all the things that came up as my fears, and then he translated that to, these are your core beliefs around money that have to change. And it was very transformational.
And see, if you didn't learn that, you maybe would have made a bunch of money one day, but probably sabotaged it.
Totally would.
That's the whole reason I wrote Make Money Easy.
Totally
It's
would.
not about like investing or entrepreneurship. It's
Yeah.
about the mindset and the beliefs we have around money.
So I feel like it's so important to actually physically confront these things, like to come up against it. Like carrying money for me did it.
Wow.
You know,
So everyone needs to go carry $1 million right now with them at all times.
if that's pocket
And
money,
start to feel like, yeah, this is nothing, you know?
walk around with a briefcase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's that feeling of readjusting your thermostat around money was really powerful. So like psychology and money are so intertwined, they're
Yes.
so linked. Like when you receive an amount of money that you feel is too much, you have guilt and shame come up. And you go, "Ooh, am I deserving of this? Do I need to give it away? Do I need to split it with people? Like, what do I need to do? Because like suddenly this money has hit my account, you know, like, and if you earn over 55,000 US dollars per year, you're in the top 1% of the planet,
Wow.
right? So it's like, oh, you know, well, maybe it's evil that I've got this, or maybe it's unfair, and then if you get millions, oh, okay, that's, you know, that's pretty weird.
How does someone shift their mindset in believing they are deserving of creating financial abundance?
I think the thing that shifted it for me was I was asked once by a mentor. He said, "Can I do the activity on you?
Let's do it.
And see how you go."
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Bring it.
All right, I'll bring it. So next year, 2026, you're going to earn an amount of money that satisfies all your needs. And I don't want you to be greedy. I want you to tell me what number comes up. So an amount of money.
Don't be greedy.
Don't be greedy. I want you to, a number.
So now I feel like I'm in school and this is a test. I always failed tests. So see, okay, so a number is going to come to me.
Yeah, and I want you to pick a number that satisfies all your needs, and I don't want you to be greedy. Just pick the number that comes to mind.
Well, it bounced around, but is it to me personally or my business?
It's for you personally.
For me personally. The first number, I don't know why, came to my mind was $20 million.
$20 million. Okay.
But I'm also trying to beat the game of this test.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, you know,
20
what is
million
not...
came to mind, and then what happened? And then you thought,
And I was like, is that greedy? Is that not greedy? But I'm thinking of how can I serve people with this money?
interesting.
I'm thinking of 20 million wouldn't be greedy because I'm just thinking about how I can make a bigger difference with this money.
Oh, you
how
play,
can I
you,
serve
you know the
people?
game, right? You've clearly, you know how.
Well, how can I generate more so I can hire more people to create livelihood within
That's it.
people? How can I,
That's it.
give my team more money because now I have more money to give them? How
So-
can I?
So what happens is, I asked this of some people.
But then I was like, well, originally I was thinking 100 million, but I was like, okay, for me personally, it's like I'm going to be giving a lot of anyways.
So I said this to a young guy a couple of days ago.
Yes.
And his number that he said was 250 grand.
Yeah.
And I said, that number's really greedy. And he said, why do you say that? And I said, because that number only satisfies your needs.
You're one person.
You're one person. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, if you had 3 kids, would your number be bigger or smaller? And he said, it would be bigger. I said, okay. So that means because you're thinking about somebody else.
Yes.
I said, what happens if you had sick parents? Would your number be bigger or smaller? He goes, bigger. I said, okay. So the more people you start to think about, the bigger the number. I said, so is it greedy to want more or less?
Less.
Yeah, less is greedy. So it's like, oh, you got to flip your script here. The people who were very, very powerful a long time ago, they wanted to completely install an idea into people's heads that it's greedy to want to have more.
Isn't that interesting?
Because they said, we're gonna have all this. You're gonna have a little bit, and you're gonna be greedy if you want what we've got.
Crazy.
So,
But it's been conditioned in so many of us, right? Like, just be happy with what you have, and
exactly.
now, but there's also the flip side of the coin, which is like just the fisherman story. It's just like, why go build more boats and have more teams and
Well, this is a
book
question.
more fish to like make more money when at the end of the day you just want to
Just want to be fishermen.
be on your island and fish every day and
Yeah.
be with your wife and your kids and
So
relax.
this is a problem of an alignment. So we have to
And
choose
seasons of life.
seasons of life, and we have to choose what is it that we want to be in alignment to. So we have to be in alignment with certain outcomes, certain goals. There is an algorithm that's kind of built into us that is make the most of what we've got while taking care of self and others. So imagine this kind of like line, and it's like if you've got this power to make hundreds of millions, and for you that's fun, and you're in alignment to making 100 million, which some people are, then you have an obligation to explore that as your life path while looking after self and others. So it's like I need to make the most. Now, the truth about the fisherman story is that the fisherman never had alignment to floating companies on the stock
He
market.
didn't have the desire.
That wasn't his life's path.
No.
So he wasn't waking up every day going, this is something I'm capable of, this is something I should be doing, this would be my way of maximizing myself and others. He was sitting there saying, hey, based on my life's path, being a fisherman and providing for my village by going out and fishing and taking other people on that journey and having that experience, that's my life path. Whereas the person who perhaps went to Harvard and did a finance degree and has found themselves commanding a knowledge of how to do these kind of amazing transactions and deals, it's probably, especially if it brings them alive, there's this word called vitality. Vitality has two meanings, which is life force energy and irreplaceable. There are certain moments where you have irreplaceable life force energy. And what that feels like is no one could be here other than, this is me. This is what I'm meant to be here. In this situation, I'm irreplaceable. And life force energy is, I'm bringing this to life. If I leave, this dies, right?
Right.
So the fisherman's vitality is to be on that boat bringing in those fish. If I leave, this dies. This is where I'm meant to be. This is where I'm irreplaceable.
Yes.
The banker's in the story, his vitality is floating companies. If I leave, this doesn't float, and trying to take someone else out of their life force energy to replicate your life force energy is not where it's at.
Unless that person is meant to do something greater than where he's at, or it's like,
When you're out of alignment, then you're out of alignment and you go, hey, wait a second, what am I trying to do here? Like, I'm not in alignment with my, there's a life story that's unfolding. There's my origin story, my mission, and my vision. My origin story is everything that led up to this point. My vision is what I want to do with my life. My mission is the highest value work that I could be doing at any given time. And when we're in alignment, it feels like this straight line between past, present, and future flowing through us.
yes.
And it gives us this vitality. So this is what I'm talking about. And it's a magical ingredient. And when that is in alignment, everything flows. The right people show up. The right conversations flow. The people who weren't meant to be there leave. The money attracts. It just starts piecing together. Mm-hmm. So there are definitely times where you sit there and go, what am I doing here? Like, this is, if I leave, this doesn't die. If I leave, they get on with it. I'm not in my vitality here. This is not my past, present, and future expressing itself. I need to go find something else. That's fine. That's because you recognize you're out of alignment. But sometimes you recognize you're in alignment. Mm-hmm. And it's the thing about vitality is you can't get someone else to do it because it's you. It's your thing. That's where you're meant to be.
Where do you feel like you're out of alignment in your life right now?
Where am I out of alignment? My biggest area of out of alignment is my health, my fitness. I got my little bit of a over 40 chin going on over here, and so
over 40 is a mindset.
Yeah, over 40 is a mindset. I mean, my thing is I've never been great at fitness, and I'm resourcing the situation, getting all of that. But yeah, there's an out of alignment. I feel like I could do more for the world if fitness was a bigger priority, and if my outcomes matched, my values around fitness, because my values have now shifted. That's definitely happened. I had a health scare and it really shifted my values. And then
when was the health scare?
It was Christmas time. This Christmas just gone. Yeah, I did a blood test and the doctor rang me the night before Christmas and said, your pancreas is producing an enzyme that is in a very high level, and it's something that's associated with not good things. And he said, I'm calling you before Christmas because I don't want you to drink alcohol and I don't want you to have a big Christmas dinner. I want you to just eat modestly and don't drink alcohol.
I mean, it's that high of importance, it sounds like, where you couldn't have one more weekend.
Yeah, well, he said Christmas is a time where you could easily indulge and you could really do some real serious damage to your pancreas.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a this.
He gave you a wake-up call.
Charles Dickens, The Ghost of Christmas Eve. That was my Ghost of Christmas Eve moment.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. So I spent the week between Christmas and New Year talking to ChatGPT endlessly about pancreases and.
Wow. And how old are you? 45 then?
I'm 44.
44?
43 at the time. Yeah.
Wow.
So
when's your birthday? March?
January.
Yeah. 44. Okay. So 43, you get the wake-up call Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
That, hey, don't have alcohol tonight.
Yeah.
Don't have a big dinner with
Uh-huh.
desserts tonight.
Yeah.
But a doctor, if it was a mild case, they wouldn't call you.
Yeah, no, he said, no, you're sky high on your pancreas levels. So I like, and also one of my heroes is Steve Jobs, who died of pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
So
How old was he? How old was
he was only 56, and like horrific. So
And he went through like cancer treatment probably 10 years before,
Yeah.
5 years before.
Yeah.
It was like,
yeah,
so this is the time
yeah.
where
So I'm
it
sitting there-
developed for him
Uh-huh.
essentially. Like if he didn't catch it sooner, yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah. So for me, that was like the wake up call I needed. Shift of values, shift of behaviors. So now I'm a few months into really that journey, but
What was your values before that phone call?
probably taking health and fitness for granted. It's always come like I've always been healthy enough. I've always I'll tell you the negative beliefs that people who put so much energy into their health and fitness are self-indulgent.
They're greedy,
They're greedy,
selfish.
They're
making it about them.
yeah, they're vain, and that I'm better because I pour myself into projects that add value to teams and
This is so
people.
interesting. This is so interesting because, when my wife, when we started dating, like almost 3 months in, we still weren't officially committed, but we were like spending all this time together, right? So it was kind of limbo, but we really like each other. She asked me what are your priorities in life question, which I think every guy probably gets from a woman at some point when they're dating. Like, what is it you really want? What are your priorities?
Job interview question.
Exactly.
It's like,
The
hey, wait a
real-
second. All right,
Like, I thought we were having fun here.
I'm being weighed up right now.
Yeah, and I was like, and I remember I go, what do you mean? She was like, what are your priorities in life? And what is a priority to you? And I told her in that moment, I was like, do you want me to be honest with you? Or do you want me to kind of like
Give you the vanilla version.
give you what you want to hear?
Yeah.
Because up until that point, I was 100% honest about everything. Past,
Yeah.
stuff I was ashamed of, stuff I wasn't
Yeah,
proud of, like
yeah.
everything. And so I was like, all right, do I start lying now or, with like little white lies? Or do I give it to her? And I said, listen, I'm going to tell you the truth, but this may be our last conversation. We're probably going to stop dating after this point because no one's been able to handle the truth about what my priorities are
Wow.
up until this point. It's always been like an issue or they
You
get
framed
mad.
that up powerfully.
Framed it. And so she was like, well, you're going to say something crazy, right?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, what are your priorities? I go, well, it's been good knowing you. And this is a fun 3 months. But again, you're not going to want to be with me after this. And I'm okay with it. I'm sad because I'm really enjoying this, but it's what's going to happen. And she goes, okay, what's your priority? I go, you will never be my number one priority. And no woman wants to hear that. No woman entering a relationship with a man wants to hear that they are not number one. And I said, there's a reason behind this. Number one needs to be my health. It needs to be my health. It doesn't mean I need to spend 8 hours a day on my health. It just needs to be a focal point of taking care of my energy, and my health includes spiritual health, my relationship with God, emotional health, and physical well-being. It's the whole health. Why does health need to be number one? Because I need a strong foundation for my second priority, which won't be you either. And no woman wants to not be number one or number two in a relationship. I said my second priority will be my service to the world,
Yep.
my purpose,
Yep.
which is the ability to serve people at a high level. And I don't know if this is going to be my purpose for the next 5 years or 50 years. It's seasonal. It
Yeah.
may be over at some point. But if I feel like I'm meant to do something, if I have a calling to serve people greater, and I'm being held back by it, by one person, because they feel insecure, I'm going to resent it. And I'm going to feel like I'm doing a disservice to God. And so I want to make sure that I'm living in alignment with my calling on that path. And
So how'd she react?
and I said my third priority will be our relationship.
Yeah.
If we're in this, our marriage, our family, like
Yep.
it's not going to be not a priority. And I said, if you can receive that and you can understand that my health, mental, physical, spiritual is number one, my purpose number two, you will feel like number one because I will be present with you. I'll have all my efforts and energy.
And you'll be with the real me.
You'll be with the most authentic,
Yeah.
happiest me.
Yeah.
And an unhealthy me is not happy in a relationship.
Yeah.
A person who's not, me who's knows I'm supposed to be living a purpose, but I'm doing something else out of fear, I'm not going to be happy in the relationship.
Yeah.
I'm going to be resentful.
So you're going to be the guy that she fell in love with anyway.
Exactly.
And the trick would be is if you rearrange those two priorities, then she'd fall in love with one guy and then end up with, the sale rack.
Exactly. Like a discounted version of
Yeah,
myself.
that's what I mean.
Not stepping into the highest version of me. And she goes, I'm so happy to hear this because I've never dated a man that had a purpose.
Or that had the guts to say what it was.
And they always wanted to make me their priority.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's great, but what's the thing you want to do in life? Like, what are you meant to do?
Yeah.
And even if you're not doing it at the highest level, at least if you're like trying to do it,
Yeah.
failing at something you're supposed to do is better than
Yeah.
nothing. And so she was like, you're the perfect guy for me.
I had a similar conversation with my wife.
Really?
Yeah, we had a very similar conversation. Didn't have the health one in there, but I said my number one priority is my contribution to the world. Like it's my purpose, and sometimes that's gonna take me on, journeys.
Traveling, you're gonna be this.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to be knuckled down and But I also said that's big. If you like who I am, that's who I am.
Yes.
So.
Now here's the thing, Daniel. You've got an interesting name. We talked about this before, Daniel Priestley.
Bless you, my son.
What do you feel like the meaning of your name is for your life? What is the meaning of it meant for you throughout your life?
You got me thinking about this. So I'm Daniel Stephen Priestley. Daniel is, biblical character, courageous, and a good judge. He's the divine judge is the meaning of the name from the Bible, and he's in alignment, right? That's why the lions don't touch him, because he's not fearful. Yeah, he's there to be who he wants to be. So nice, that character. My mum named me that because of Elton John's song "Daniel's Traveling Tonight on a Plane." I do a lot of traveling tonight on a plane, so that's a little bit baked into that. Stephen was my uncle who died shortly before I was born. He had a car crash, and so I carry that legacy with me. That this guy whose life was cut short at 24, he's part of me. Had he not died, I wouldn't be here.
Wow.
Which is kind of weird, because he was the catalyst for my mum and dad getting their relationship together. So
someone had to sacrifice.
That's just how it worked.
For your parents to meet.
That's just how it worked. Yeah. So there's that, and then Priestley. Obviously, there's a couple of different meanings to that. It's obviously my paternal line, and I'm from some soldiers who fought in wars, some people who had very very good spiritual faith, and entrepreneurs. Strangely, I'm from a long line of people from London. The weirdest thing happened that when I arrived in London, having never been above the equator in my life, having no idea of London, I arrived and I set up an office 2 blocks from where my grandfather was born, and 2 blocks from where my great-grandparents were buried in a cemetery.
You didn't know?
I had no idea. And where I live today is like a short distance from where multiple generations of my family were born and raised. So it's strange, all those priestly connections. But yeah, the funny thing about Priestley is a lot of people say that I preach a lot. I'm a little bit too preachy. So perhaps that's built in there as well.
Well, you're 44, right?
Yep.
Which 4 for me, is a foundational number. It's also a number of love. But really, you're an 8. You're an infinity right now. Which is your 44 is 4 plus 4 is 8, and so you're in a cycle with your number. And I believe that numbers and names have meanings.
Interesting.
And you got a phone call Christmas Eve. Like all these signs and synchronicities are lining up for you to be in alignment with your health. And I get kind of chills just thinking about it. You have a daughter, you have 2 sons. Again, my thought is, what is 55-year-old Daniel look like based on the decision you make today and over the past few months that you've been deciding?
Yeah.
Like, what would 55-year-old Daniel?
The 55-year-old Daniel is going to be in the best shape of his life, and he's grateful to 44-year-old Daniel for doing fasts, because I really like getting value from fasting, which is really good for the pancreas and all that sort of stuff. And 4 personal training sessions a week. All processed foods out the door, alcohol and coffee gone. So those are some of the big shifts.
What
just in the
what
last-
would a 55-year-old Daniel preach to you about today and say, all that's nice, but what's really at the core that you need to be doing, thinking, and behaving differently so that you take us to the promised land, literally, that we're still here, not just surviving, but I'm actually living in full alignment with our health so that our kids can look at us in 10 years from now, 11 years from now, and say, dang, dad really did this. Like dad actually stepped up and owned the courageous parts of himself that were really hard to do.
Yeah.
What is your future self truly preaching to you to do? And stop hiding behind.
The big one is around trying to take a more active role in the schooling system, because I know it's broken and I know what's coming because of the technology. So, not just in the lives of my own kids, because they're going to grow up in a pretty reasonable family, but figuring out how do we do this more widespread? How do we create a system that is going to work for a lot of people? So many people at the moment are in pain, lots of pain. They're playing by the rules and it's not working for them. The society is splitting. We've had almost 100 years of a middle class after the war, 80 years of the middle class after World War II, and we took it for granted. And now the middle class is in decline, and we're getting rising rates at the bottom and rising rates at the top. People are moving from the middle either up. But do you know there's more wealthy people than ever before?
Yeah.
Wealth is definitely taking off. If you happen to be on this side, boom, it's happening here. But we're also getting rates of people who can't keep up with inflation, can't keep up with the cost of living, blame themselves. So like for me personally, hugely aligned to my mission is being on these kind of big platforms to just talk about what's happening, and talk about because we have this technological edge, singularity, where we've either created artificial general intelligence or it's about to come. We've hit the singularity. Life is not going to be the same again. So everything's up for grabs, and people like yourself, like myself, need to shape the world in a positive direction, or else it'll just fall into chaos.
If you had to sell every business in the next 30 days and you got 10 times more than the number that you wanted for every business, and you have hundreds of millions in the bank,
Yep.
and you are only allowed to focus on one thing for the next decade, one thing only, put all of your time and attention into solving a problem, serving something, optimizing, transforming something, what would that opportunity be?
Yeah, so I run this entrepreneur accelerator called Dent, and if I had to sell it, I'd just start a new one, right? But Dent is developing entrepreneurs who stand out, scale up, and make a positive impact in the world. The origin of this was that I got into the idea of like wanting to do something for charity. And I did an amazing trip to India. I did an amazing trip to Uganda. I explored environmental stuff. I explored humanitarian stuff. So I really got into this about 15 years ago. Had some profound experiences, like two or three very profound experiences. And I was trying to think, like, how do I make enough money to do all these things that I'm interested in? And then I realized if I create an accelerator that is about developing entrepreneurs who can stand out, scale up, and make a dent in the universe. The Steve Jobs quote is entrepreneur's job is to make a dent in the universe. And I thought, if I can develop thousands of people who can make a dent in the universe, maybe I can solve a lot more problems than if I try and do it directly and try and be the one who does it. Maybe I can enroll thousands of people to be part of this extended thing. As it stands today, we do now have thousands of entrepreneurs who have committed their business to make a positive impact in the world. So we have, one of our entrepreneurs, Sebastian, has created the Warrior Academy, where he teaches martial arts in Kenya and Nepal to, I think, 5,000 or 6,000 kids a week. And he had a martial arts school in England, right? And he set up his foundation. His foundation is now spread across the UK and Dubai, and he's used that to actually, and through some connections of mine, we created a patrons program. That patrons program now allows that company, that foundation, to teach thousands of kids. They're all orphans. They're fed, they're taught, they're given life skills under this umbrella of the Warrior Academy. I'm very good friends with Paul and Masami, who they created something called Buy One Give One, and Buy One Give One is a charity that allows people that every time you buy something, it's automatically factored in. So as your business scales, your impact scales.
It's like the Tom Shoes model, yeah.
Yeah, but like it's created a platform for. They've now had 370 million giving impacts.
Wow.
It's really cool. So all of our businesses, they sign up to B1G1 and they use their business as a force for good. So like that to me is pretty powerful.
But what's the one problem, if you could only solve one, that you would go after? I know it's like letting every entrepreneur kind of solve their own problems.
Well, this is the problem. The problem is that we now live in a world where the biggest problem in the world at the moment is that people feel displaced. They feel that they were brought up for a world that no longer exists, and they feel this sense of mission and meaning, but they don't know how to express it in the world. So I'm very aligned to teach entrepreneurship. I'm not doing this for the money, to be honest. Like I enjoy creating software companies, and software companies create a lot of money. But all the software companies I create are also about developing entrepreneurs and doing that. Like Score App has allowed 8,000 entrepreneurs to generate hundreds of leads a month, which allows them to grow and scale and allows them to fulfill their dreams.
That's right.
So like every software business that I'm building is in alignment with this idea that people feel displaced. They want to make an impact in the world. They want to have a career that's meaningful. They want to explore this way of showing up called entrepreneurship, and that we're mapping out the step by step. So like there are actually probably ways I could make money better and faster, but I'm really aligned to that.
You feel
like, yeah, I don't know. Do you pick up from me that I do stuff because I want to make a lot of money, and that I've got 7 companies because I want to make a lot of money?
No.
Yeah, because that's not where I come from. Like it's very much I'm building a mini empire because I want to see a transition happen in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a number you're looking to hit though? Like a financial goal?
There will be moments in my life. No, like I'm financially sweet.
Yeah. Do you know, like, how do I get it to this net worth? And
it's fun to play those games. It's fun to play the game. Like Score App, it will not be surprising if in the next few years, this year or early next year, that we sell it for close to $100 million. If that goes ahead, it's because the company that we sell it to will be a better fit for it to go on and become even more successful, to scale up. So it'll be like selling it in partnership as its next evolution. Will $100 million totally transform the way that I live? Not really. Like, honestly, I would go to work the next day.
Solve the next problem.
Do what I'm doing. I would live in the same house I live in now.
Yeah.
I would drive the same cars that I have now.
You don't eat so much food.
Yeah.
You can't like buy more food to eat. Like when it's like.
It's it, right? So if we do that exit.
You can only be at one house at a time. You know, it's like you don't need 10 houses.
No, there's like, very, very little about the way I live would change. I pretty much, the funny thing about selling a company, by the way, is that by the time you can sell companies, it is actually genuinely neither here nor there. Because if you sell a company for 100 million, it's probably because it makes 4 or 5 million profit. And by that stage, you've got 4 or 5 million a year.
You're making bank.
Yeah, like I'm already in a situation where every single month our bank account goes like that because we've got so many subscribers and all of that sort of stuff. So I'm already in that position.
You only need so much cash flow for your lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of stuff is not as fun as actually building stuff. Like I enjoy building stuff. So I would just go straight into that next, I'd
project. Yeah.
I'd still be developing entrepreneurs who stand out, scale up, and make a positive impact in the world in one way or another.
Yeah. What do you want your kids to think about you in terms of what they learned over the last, 10 plus years growing up? What do you wish they knew about you as their dad?
I would love it if they don't spend any time at all thinking about me, if they're focused on their life, their future, their kids, and if they don't feel any sense of obligation, any sense of, I think the term legacy can mean many things, but the way I think of it is to pass something on, and to pass it on fully means that it's fully yours. Like if I leave you something, it's fully yours now. That's yours. So my dream for my kids would be that they spend absolutely no time thinking about me. I don't want them reminiscing or any of that sort of stuff. Be future focused, be focused on your wife, your kids, your family, your husband, and your career. And maybe if they stop and think about it, they go, oh, I had a really good upbringing. Like, I got good mentoring from, and my parents were a good role model for us. But only if they really stopped and thought about it. I don't want them sitting around thinking about me.
If you could only teach your kids one lesson, what would it be?
One great lesson would be you speak things into existence. You get what you pitch for. That words are creative, not descriptive. So we create with our words, not describe things with our words. So the way you get a $100 million business is you pitch it into existence. The way you have amazing people join the team is you pitch them to join the team. You speak stuff out there and it comes, so it's speaking, it's the power to speak things into existence. So it'd be a lesson on how to do that.
Yeah, I call it enrollment.
Enrollment conversations.
Yeah, how do you
So
enroll
enroll
someone in a vision?
Yeah. King Arthur pulled the sword from the stone, the words and the tones. Right? It's the message of that story is that he became king when he got the words and the tones, not the sword and the stone. But it's this.
What did he do with the words and the tones? What was it?
If you rearrange sword and stone, it's the words and the tones. It's the ability to have words and tones, the ability to command an army through the power of speech. So it's speaking things into existence.
Yeah.
As entrepreneurs, we call this pitching. Enrollment conversations are another great way of describing it.
Besides getting in the best shape of your life this year, what else do you need to enroll yourself in?
Gee, I didn't know I was coming here for the hard questions, man. This is, what else?
It's the meaningful questions.
Yeah.
You can talk about how to make money on any show.
Yeah, true. I like it.
But what's the...
I'll tell you what comes up for me when you say that. This is a first world problem, but I find that I'm incredibly comfortable in my life. And the downside of...
There's a problem to comfort as well.
Yeah, the downside of being incredibly comfortable in my life is that it's at 44, I'm here to play a big game. I'm just hitting my stride.
This is the decade.
As an entrepreneur, this is my decade. So to continue to enroll myself in, play a big game, take the family with, honor and respect the fact that I only get to do this because my wife and my kids are on board with it, right? So honor that relationship, honor my team, respect my team, my co-founders, my investors, those relationships, but keep playing the bigger game. Even though it's super comfortable, if I want it to be super comfortable, it's like, no, let's keep that hunger. The Steve Jobs quote, stay hungry, stay curious. So it would be stay hungry, stay curious.
Did I see you hanging out with our friend Dan Martell recently?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's taken the call to adventure in the last 12 months of like health first.
Yeah.
And it's exploded his business.
Yeah.
It seems like by going all in on health as the priority.
He looks so good. Like he walked into the restaurant the other night as an athlete.
He probably didn't eat anything.
He ate chicken with salt.
That's it. Right? Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's a level of discipline to be at that level. I'm not saying you have to be that extreme, but look how much
But he looks like
10x his business in 12 and a half months or something.
Yes.
By going all in on obsessing over health.
Yeah.
And you could say one thing's extreme or not. I'm not here about what is or what isn't.
No, it was inspiring to see what he's
done.
done.
But the belief and confidence that stems from optimizing health.
Yeah.
I'm not at that level, and I train hard, but he's like obsessive.
Yeah.
And I think he's got more of an addictive personality.
I think this is his current addiction, a healthy addiction.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's been on the other side where he went to jail and alcohol addiction and drug addiction. So this is like he's using it for good, but it's all in one way or not, it seems like. But it only seems like it's made him a greater leader, made him more money, made him impact more people, made him more focus, and probably created a deeper sense of appreciation for what he's able to do for himself. Again, I'm not saying that's what you need to do.
No, but it's...
But I am enrolling you in a graver challenge than what you've even put on yourself. Because I think you're focusing on it, and this is our first time hanging out, but I don't think you've gone all in on health. I think you're like, yeah, I know this is what I need to do, and in 3-4 days a week, and this and this, and I'm going to cut this out. But you haven't fully said, I am health. And what does health represent to me? Not just being comfortable, like you said, but getting so uncomfortable that you set up the rest of your life for decades. Not just, well, we'll see where I'm at 55 if I do this 3-4 days a week thing, and then, you know. And again, I'm not saying you need to be fully obsessive, every grain of salt like Dan Martell, but what would your life look like if you unlocked at an even greater level of health and making it the priority above every business, above everything else, so that you can serve at higher levels in business because of that behavior shift?
Yeah, well, I think it would set a great example to my kids to start with. That success and health go hand in hand. They're not at odds with each other, and it would just be a massive move towards being a role model on multiple fronts
For your kids.
Yeah, that alone would be great. It would obviously take relationship up a notch. I think too, it'd be just more inspiring to. If I'm sharing a message, it would be easier to hear that message if the person delivering it is clearly.
You would be more enrolling.
Yeah, I'd enroll
Your
more.
businesses would 10x just by you going all in on health.
Yeah, I agree.
So what would it look like for you to fully create the systems, process, and vision inside of you that this is the number one versus it's a high priority? And maybe you're not ready for that right now, but I'm just challenging you.
Yeah, I know, to make it number one priority, because it's right up there. Like since Christmas, like personal training sessions every week, and I completely cut out coffee, cut out all alcohol and coffee. Which has been great, by the way. Like sleep is phenomenal without coffee. I'm just trying to think, like
So it's been 4 months. It's been 4 months of this journey so far.
Yeah, and I'm loving it.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
really enjoying it. I enjoy training with the trainer.
That's great.
My grandfather wouldn't understand, but I do enjoy training with a trainer. I think probably the one thing that's missing is a health challenge. So like what I haven't done is I haven't said like I'm committing myself to doing because Dan Martell is doing like
75 hard, or he's doing like ultra marathons. and
yeah,
stuff
he's
like
training for an Ironman right now.
yeah.
So he's actually put a
You don't have a carrot.
No.
You don't have something you're like, all right,
Yeah.
this is happening in
Or
6
a
months.
stick.
You don't have anything. You're just like, all right, I'm going to do this.
yeah.
So it's creating something. I'm going to run a half marathon, or I'm going to run a marathon.
So
in
a
6
health
months,
challenge
or-
would definitely be something
So that's one thing.
that would be one
Health
thing.
challenge.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what's blocking you from making a greater impact is health.
Yeah, right.
When I see Dan Martell's impact,
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
talking about financial.
And you also see his
Impact.
Yeah, and you see the photos of how he was before health was an issue, was a focus, and you wouldn't take that guy as seriously. Whereas,
No, and I knew Dan back in 2009. I met Dan
interesting.
back when he was like Flowtown, and like creating these other software apps back in San Francisco when no one even remembers these companies that he was a part of. I remember being in the San Francisco office in 2010 with him when it was like, 8 people, startup world. We used to spend time at South by Southwest every year. We were in that kind of world, and it was Fat Dan. It was Fat Dan life. But he was extremely talented and fun, and he was the same character.
Same guy, but
he didn't have the obsession. And again, this is not a right or wrong or bad.
he does seem to have an addictive personality, and he's channeled it into the right place.
He's putting it into, but all I'm saying is the outcome.
The hard thing, the difference for me is I've always been quite a generalist.
Yes.
So I've enjoyed like
100%.
spreading myself a
get it,
little
man.
as a generalist.
This is,
So the intensity of Dan on that one thing.
I'm not saying you need to obsess like that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying
What are your
is
views on fasting?
I fast different times. Yeah. I'll fast for 24 hours. I'll fast for 2 or 3 days.
Have you ever done like
sometimes.
a 7-day fast?
I did a 4.5 day,
Yeah.
and it was hard.
Because I did 2 7-day fasts.
That's impressive.
And those like nothing but water for 7 days.
That's impressive.
And this was quite a while ago, and I've never felt so good.
That's good.
After that.
Yeah,
So like
good.
right now, I'm mentally gearing up for a fast, as in like this week.
That's great.
Yeah, because
I like it.
yeah,
And again,
and I feel like that's also a bit of a turning point. That it's like that I'm back to that level of commitment.
that's great.
Yeah.
I am at the point where like, listen, I want to enjoy life. I don't have to be so strict on myself either. I'm not like, I have to have a 6-pack, otherwise I'm like worthless. You know,
Well, you have a six pack. It's just
it's not, there's a little fat still.
It's just buried.
It's a little fat there.
It's buried treasure.
But it's, so for me, it's not about I have to have a certain look or a certain results physically to feel like I matter or I'm enough or it's okay.
Yeah.
Like I can live in 80-20 and be okay with it. Where it's like I have sugar, I have like desserts every now and then, but I know my mind that if I eat too much of it, my body reflects that.
Would you say health is still your number one?
Yeah, but I also look at it as spiritual, emotional, physical health. It's not just
holistic health.
Physically, I need to be perfect.
How old are you now?
42.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's more of like, am I spiritually at peace? Am I emotionally in good relationships?
Yeah.
Like, do I feel good about me? And
how are you with phone addiction?
A lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've gone through phases, but I have the Opal app on, which is like blocks me after 5 minutes from checking something.
Yep.
And constantly reminds me if I'm like in a loop.
This is the thing, because AI is very good at, without something like that, you got to use AI against AI.
Yeah. So I use that as like a blocker because I'm also in a media world. So I'm like, I want to research what's happening in the industry.
Dashboards. Humans have never had such dashboards.
Right.
Like consider that, you know, if you went back a few hundred years ago, if you planted crops, you didn't find out how those crops did for 3 months.
No. We're seeing data all day long.
Yeah.
So we're refreshing the data.
Your brain can just
what's
be
working, what's not working, testing, analyzing.
Yeah. And that got 1 million views, and now it's at 1.2, and now it's at 1.3. You want to refresh that.
Refresh.
Yeah. And some negative comments. Some stranger on the other side of the world on the internet is like not happy that I recorded this episode, right? Ooh, you know.
Yeah, so it's managing all that. I think I can definitely be better. I mean, I'm not Cal Newport.
Yeah, for me that like
I'm not like deep work and I'm not zero app and just like I only do deep work.
Part of my holistic thing is I need to I find the pull towards the phone is strong.
It's hard. Yeah, I do 7-day fasting, no phone.
Phone to fasting.
Phone and safe.
That's got to be a new thing.
I've done 7 days in a safe.
I love it.
Not even taking it out to like check messages.
Wow.
And so that's something that I like to do. I try to do that once a year, you know, where it's like a phone fast for certain days. Because I think it resets me spiritually.
And you end up with creativity and stuff bubbles up to the surface.
My nervous system relaxes.
Yeah.
And I think the greatest wealth is inner peace.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people are creating things because they want to feel enough. Yeah. They're creating something to feel loved, worthy, deserving, accepted, acknowledged.
Yeah.
That they matter.
Yes, and there's another element too, which is I've got a cat, and if I get my laser pointer and shine the laser pointer on the floor, the cat just springs to life and chases it because it's instinctual. There's a lot of human behavior that is just instinctual, that if you like, and this is the stuff that these systems hack into. Like a lot of these TikTok is a laser pointer.
Yes.
It just fires off all the dopamine stuff.
Well, it's keeping us in comfort. You said at 44, comfort's the thing you're trying to battle the most.
Yeah.
And it's going against comfort. It's like, how do I stay uncomfortable where I'm still not overly stressed and exhausted, but I'm not lazy?
Yeah.
It's like, where is
finding that balance?
The balance where at the end of the day, I feel like that was a good day, but I'm not just like mentally and physically, I'm like spent and I can't recover from this.
Yeah. And you're feeling totally, wrung out.
Yeah. And so it's learning how to have that psychological test and emotional test where at the end of the day, like even a couple of weeks ago, just so much has been going on this year. Where like my test is like, oh, my eyelid starts twitching.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, it's telling me I need sleep. I need to slow down.
The body's giving you a little.
It's like a little signal, and that could turn into something greater if I don't actually listen to it and slow down.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I actually need to rest, or what do I need in this moment? And I think if I'm too much in a loop in any area, I need to find how to get back in alignment again, activating the alignment in us. You talked about vitality, and when you're not in alignment, you're out of vitality.
Yeah.
You lose vitality.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. You lose life force. You're just not
fighting against
You can't
life.
create. Yeah. Yeah. And if you experience that, that's a signal. That's not how it should feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like building stuff should feel joyful. should be fun. I think fun is a word that we've lost a lot. You know, like things should be fun. Fun is a biological signal that flows through the body that says, this is great. This is what you're meant to be doing right now. You know, I think we've lost, one thing I've noticed in the US, especially when I'm here, is that so much of all friendships and relationships really center on work and what we could do for each other and how we could partner and all that sort of stuff. You know, like when you're in Spain or when you're in Europe, friendships are friendships. They're there it's for traveling through life together. It's for being there, like it's for sharing food, and it's for having conversations
and talking about life ideas.
And very little to do with work. And a lot of friendships could have they could go years without talking about work-related stuff. But yeah, fun. I think we lose track of the fact that fun is a really good signal. It's a great signal.
Yes.
If something's fun, explore that. Explore fun more.
100%. It's been powerful, Daniel. I've got a couple final questions for you. Before I ask them, I want to send people to your work. Where should people connect with you online and follow your work? You've got a lot of great books and software.
On Amazon, there's all my books. I think I've got 5 or 6 different books that are out. And the Entrepreneurial Revolution is a great place to start. Key Person of Influence. My software is scoreapp.com. And this is a software that allows you to build a quiz or a scorecard. We should build you a School of Greatness scorecard.
I'm in. I think we have a few quizzes already, but I'd love to figure out
I'll get
what
my team to build you some.
Build me some,
And they're really fun. And like you could actually do one for some of the top episodes, that you watch an episode and then take the scorecard to see where you need to focus.
That's cool.
Which would be really cool. So our team will build you some of those. So scoreapp.com is a super easy way to build assessments if you're launching with lead generation, if you're wanting to launch a waiting list, or if you're wanting to increase your sales conversions with a diagnostic. You can build all of that on scoreapp.com. Bookmagic.ai is good for writing a book. And dent.global is the Entrepreneur Accelerator.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And also connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Yeah, I spend those.
Your full name, right?
Yeah, at Daniel Priestley.
At Daniel Priestley. If you want to have more courage and be preached to, make sure to follow Daniel Priestley. This is a question I ask everyone towards the end. It's called the 3 truths. Imagine hypothetically you get to live as long as you want to live, but it's your last day on earth. You can pick the age, but you got to call it quits. And you get to accomplish all your dreams. And anything you think about comes true. You manifest what you want. You actualize your ideas. You serve billions of people. But for whatever reason, on the last day, you got to take all of your work with you. Every piece of content you've published, every book, every interview, every platform you've developed, it's got to go, hypothetically.
Yep.
But you get to leave behind 3 lessons to the world. These 3 truths. And this is all we would have to be reminded of your content and your wisdom. What would those 3 truths be for you?
This is what comes to mind. And it was similar to what I said to my kids, which is you get what you pitch for and you're always pitching. You speak your life into existence. So be very careful about what you pitch into existence. Be intentional about pitching. Influence flows from output. It's the creating, not consuming, that makes the difference, right? So create, not consume. And a link to that is like prolific beats perfect. Just put stuff out in the world. Create, not consume. And the third one would be that you're in partnership with everyone. You're in partnership with everyone you come in contact with. So what does it mean to be in partnership? Well, it means you care about their needs, they care about your needs, that you communicate with each other and you get into alignment. And that if you can be in partnership with more people, if you can have the spirit of partnership with more people, then amazing magic happens. So this idea that every day, any resource that you could dream of already exists on the planet. And you just need to be in partnership with the person who's already got access to it. You know, so if you want money, be in partnership with people who've already got money. If you want fame, be in partnership with people who've got fame. If you want creativity, be in partnership with people who have a lot of creativity going on. So it's that essentially your life gets better the more people that you have established good, clean, empowering partnerships with.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. I want to acknowledge you, Daniel, for this conversation, for having the courage to answer some of my questions that you probably didn't think I was going to ask you about.
I did.
And I want to acknowledge you for being on purpose within your entrepreneurial journey and thinking about how can you serve other people to be entrepreneurial, to make problems go away in the world, to solve problems, to be a solution in the world versus a problem to people, and to be thinking in ways that are service oriented. And I want to acknowledge you for constantly having the conversation with yourself about how you can be of higher service through taking care of your health in deeper levels. Not being perfect and obsessive necessarily, but just going deeper and deeper and seeing how can I serve greater in the world through being more greedy with myself through the health journey, and really taking advantage of the moment to transform your life over these next 6 months, so that this time, Christmas Eve, you are reflecting 12 months back and seeing how much you transformed and how far you've come and how much greater of an impact you've been able to make in the world and the father you are becoming to your kids through this partnership of your future self. So I want to acknowledge you for the courage you're having and the steps you're taking. Not perfect, but progressing in a beautiful way. And then I'm excited to see, I want you to text me, maybe not Christmas Eve, but sometime in the holidays and say, here's where I'm at.
Here's where I'm at.
After the last 12 months.
Yeah, done.
And I want to see, that's your challenge for me.
I like it. I feel like I got the School of Greatness experience here.
You've gotten a taste of it, man. Final question, what is your definition of greatness?
My definition of greatness is that you make the most with what you've got. That you make the most with what you got for self and others. So that because we're all born with different circumstances, and that you can truly, you look at what you did and said, all things considered, I made the most with what I've got, and that I played a role in being part of this tapestry. This tapestry that's unfolding.
Make it a dent.
I made a dent in the universe.
Made a dent. Daniel, appreciate
Cheers,
you being
man.
here.
That was great. Thanks so much. If you're chasing the money, it's very hard to beat someone who's genuinely passionate about it. So money will attract all sorts of people. So if you imagine there's this big pile of money, people are coming at that from all angles. The person who's ultimately going to win is the person who recognizes there's a lot of money and they're passionate about it.
They love it.
They love it.